Everyone called her the Silver Ghost, not out of respect, but because of her gray hair and habit of working alone. She looked like an aging civilian technician until that fateful moment when her sleeve rolled up. The tattoo that emerged wasn't decorative. If the wrong people saw it, it would be a death sentence. From which city around the world are you watching today? If this story moves you, please subscribe to help us continue sharing stories of rising life stories. Sarah Mitchell was exactly what she appeared to be. A 40-year-old, gray-haired, quiet civilian technician working in the motor pool at Fort Campbell's 101st Airborne Division. For 5 years, she'd worn the same work coveralls, drunk from the same thermos, and kept her distance from everyone. "Here comes the Silver Ghost again," muttered Specialist Tommy Rodriguez, watching Sarah arrive at 5:30 a.m. The other technicians chuckled. The nickname had stuck because of Sarah's gray hair and ghost-like way of moving silently through the garage. It was never malicious, just a description of her ordinary appearance and quiet demeanor. Sarah never reacted. She simply kept her head down, focused on her vehicles, and avoided eye contact with anyone. Even veteran technicians with 25 years of experience found her working methods old-fashioned. She refused to use modern diagnostic systems, checking everything by hand and ear. "That woman is still living in the 2000s, Specialist Johnson complained half-jokingly. "She won't even use the digital diagnostic system, does everything by hand and ear." But Sarah's old-school methods worked perfectly. She found problems in minutes that others couldn't locate in hours, solved complex issues with simple solutions that left everyone puzzled. Nobody cared enough to question it. They just attributed it to experience or luck. During morning briefings, Sarah always sat in the back row, never asked questions, never made comments. Chief Warrant Officer Mike Thompson had started ignoring her entirely. "Mitchell, we've got Humvees from Alpha Company today," he'd assign her, and Sarah would simply nod and head silently to work. While other workers ate lunch together in groups, sharing military stories and making future plans, Sarah continued working under the vehicles. She'd drink her thermos coffee alone, never engaging in conversation, acting almost invisible. "That woman is like a robot," the young technicians would comment. "It's like she talks to machines, not people. Never smiles, never talks." Sarah's desk perfectly reflected her personality. Organized, minimal, no personal items. Just work equipment, a few technical manuals, and a small photo frame she never opened, sitting in the corner of her desk. It was a cold December morning in Kentucky. Sarah had arrived early as always, but this time she heard a different sound, a powerful engine. Looking outside, she saw an official vehicle from Division Command heading toward the motor pool. This wasn't a routine occurrence. "Wow," Rodriguez muttered. "Colonel Anderson's coming. Wonder what happened. Must be something important to bring him here at this hour." Sarah felt a chill inside. Colonel James Anderson was one of Fort Campbell's most experienced and respected special operations officers. In his 28-year career, he'd served in critical missions from Afghanistan to Iraq, Somalia to Colombia, some of the world's most dangerous places. His visit to the motor pool meant a major operation was approaching. The colonel stepped out of his vehicle and began systematically inspecting the motor pool. He was evaluating each vehicle's condition, assessing the technician's work. Sarah tried to keep herself in the background, but the colonel's sharp, experienced eyes were scanning every detail. "These vehicles are deploying next week," Colonel Anderson told Chief Thompson. "Everything needs to be perfect. Even the smallest malfunction could jeopardize the operation." Sarah kept her head down and continued working. As she tightened the engine block with her torque wrench, the cold caused her coverall sleeves to ride up. Normally, this was something she was very careful about, but in that moment her concentration was elsewhere. At that critical moment, Colonel Anderson was walking past. His eyes caught Sarah's wrist and he stopped suddenly, experiencing a freezing shock. At first, he'd expected to see just an ordinary tattoo, but what he saw froze his blood and instantly brought back all the memories of his 28-year military career. A small but extremely significant symbol done in faded black ink. Wings within a triangle with De Oppresso Liber written below. Next to it, a very faint, almost invisible code, DF187X. Colonel Anderson had only seen this symbol in the highest classified files. It was the mark of Delta Force's special subunit, DELTA-6, a legendary unit that officially never existed, whispered about only in rumors. Colonel Anderson froze, as if time had stopped. Sarah, noticing his intense stare, reflexively jerked her arm back, but it was too late. That critical moment had occurred. The secret was exposed. "Sorry, sir," Sarah said, with a slight southern accent in her voice. "I'll get back to work." There was a new tension in her voice, as if she'd suddenly gone on alert, but Colonel Anderson's experienced mind was racing. Delta-6, the most secret, most elite unit active from the late 1990s to 2010. Only 18 operators, all officially listed as transferred or retired in records, but in reality, most of their fates were unknown. "Wait a minute," the colonel said, his voice controlled but taking on an authoritative tone. Sarah was trying to move away, but there was no escape now. "Mitchell," Chief Thompson called out, "the colonel is speaking to you. Turn around immediately." Sarah slowly turned. There was clear recognition in the colonel's eyes. This look was the kind that could only be given by someone who'd had similar experiences in their military career. "Ma'am," Colonel Anderson said, strategically lowering his voice, "that tattoo, where did you get it?" Sarah's entire face turned to stone. The civilian identity she'd perfected for years was crumbling in an instant. "Youthful mistake, sir," she said curtly. "No," the colonel said, approaching and lowering his voice further. "This isn't a youthful mistake. This is Delta-6's official mark." All the workers in the motor pool turned and stared. The tension in the atmosphere suddenly escalated. Everyone could feel that something very serious was changing, but they couldn't fully understand what. Sarah stared into the colonel's eyes for a long time. Inside her, a battle was raging, the instinct to protect the secret life she'd maintained for 13 years versus telling the truth. Then she took a deep breath and made her decision. "How do you know that unit exists, sir?" she asked, her voice now completely different, harder, more controlled, more military. "Because I was on a joint operation in Kandahar in 2008, the colonel said. "I worked with an operator from Delta-6, call sign Ghost Rider." Sarah's eyes widened. Ghost Rider. Only very few people knew that call sign, and this was proof that the colonel was telling the truth. "The night in Musa Kala?" Sarah asked. "Yes, I was there." The silence in the motor pool was now deafening. Everyone was holding their breath, waiting. "Would you come to my office?" Colonel Anderson said, his voice containing both authority and respect. This wasn't an order, more like an invitation. Sarah saw the shocked, curious stares around her. The people she'd worked with for 5 years were looking at her as if they'd never met her. Rodriguez's mouth was hanging open, Chief Thompson was frowning, and the others were whispering in amazement. In the colonel's office, Sarah sat across from the desk. Her posture had completely changed, no longer the hunched-shouldered, timid technician, but an upright, confident, experienced operator. It was as if a 13-year mask had suddenly dropped. "Your official paperwork says your name is Sarah Mitchell," the colonel said, opening the file. "But what was your real rank?" "Master Sergeant Sarah Mitchell," Sarah said, no longer any hesitation in her voice. "Delta-6, team leader. Active duty from 1998 to 2010. The colonel leaned back. This information shocked him. "Official records show you as KIA in a Pakistan border operation in 2010. "That was better for everyone, sir," Sarah said. "After that operation, people like us only had 2 choices: stay in the system fighting constant PTSD or die on duty. I found a third way. You completely left the service. More accurately, I died, sir. Master Sergeant Sarah Mitchell died that night in Pakistan. Civilian contractor Sarah Mitchell was born the next morning here in Tennessee." Colonel Anderson nodded. These kinds of stories weren't rare, but they were always moving. "How did you successfully hide for 13 years?" "Very, very carefully, sir. Never standing out. Always working ordinary, unnoticed jobs. Never forming close relationships with anyone. And most importantly..." She paused. "Most importantly, never trusting anyone for anything. So what changed? Why are you telling me today, after maintaining perfect secrecy for 13 years? Sarah showed a sad smile. "Because I'm getting older, sir. My reflexes aren't as fast as they used to be, and you're the first person to notice that tattoo. That means I'm not completely invisible anymore. Maybe it's time. What exactly did you do in Delta-6? Colonel Anderson asked, genuinely curious. I was a demolition and infiltration specialist, sir. I would infiltrate alone deep behind enemy lines and quietly neutralize critical targets. IED factories, weapon caches, communication centers, HVT compounds. Sarah paused, her eyes growing distant. And sometimes the HVTs themselves. How many operations total? 23 classified operations, sir. Afghanistan, Iraq, Somalia, Colombia. Each with different challenges, different dangers. I never experienced failure in any of them. She said this last sentence not with pride, but as a fact. Colonel Anderson's breath caught. Delta-6's operation success rates were legendary. What was your most difficult, most dangerous mission? Sarah's face suddenly darkened, as if bringing back a painful memory. 2009, Pakistan border. We had an intel leak problem in the unit. Operations were constantly being compromised. I needed to find and eliminate the mole. Did you find them? Yes, sir, but that person was... Her voice trembled. That person was my direct team leader, the person who recommended me for Delta-6, who trusted me, who trained me. A heavy silence fell over the office. You still completed the mission? Yes, sir. I'll never forget that night for the rest of my life. After that, I wasn't the same Sarah anymore. Something had broken inside me. Is that why you left the unit? No, sir, in the final operation. Sarah's voice cracked. In the final mission, I lost half my team. Sophisticated IED ambush. I was the only survivor. 6 of my friends died that night. Sarah stood up and looked out the window at Fort Campbell's vast grounds. For 13 years, I lived as Sarah Mitchell, an ordinary invisible technician, someone who didn't attract anyone's attention, who no one perceived as a threat, who no one showed special interest in. Did you ever miss it? That life? Those adrenaline-filled moments? Every day, sir, Sarah said honestly. But what I missed wasn't the action or adrenaline. What I missed was having a clear purpose, knowing my life had meaning. And now? Now I'm not sure anymore. I have a proposal for you, Colonel Anderson said, leaning forward. Sarah turned and looked with curiosity. You know that your experience, your skill set is very valuable. And here at Fort Campbell, especially in our special operations units, we often have situations where we could use your expertise. What exactly do you mean, sir? Classified consulting, part-time, flexible. You'd remain officially listed as civilian contractor Sarah Mitchell, continue doing your daily job, but when needed, you'd provide specialized training to our special operations units. Sarah thought for a long time. This offer was both appealing and frightening. For 13 years I've been running from that past, sir. Now you're offering me to return to it? No, Sarah, I'm not telling you to keep running from that past. I'm asking you to continue as Sarah Mitchell, but to share Master Sergeant Mitchell's valuable knowledge with qualified people. Nothing will be the same as before, will it, sir? No, it won't. But maybe this time everything will be your choice, under your control. Sarah looked out the window again. Outside, young soldiers were training. Could I really help them? Sarah, the things you could teach aren't in books. Real experience, real situations, real survival techniques. These young operators could learn a lot from your wisdom. What about security? What if my past gets exposed? We'll work with minimum risk, only need-to-know basis, only the most trusted personnel, and always at your comfort level. Sarah took a deep breath. If I accept, when would we start? Whenever you feel ready. No pressure. I have one condition, sir. What is it? I will never, under any circumstances, discuss details of past operations. Only general techniques, survival skills, tactical thinking. I won't talk about specific missions. Completely understandable and acceptable. Sarah truly smiled for the first time. Then, we can try it, sir. 6 months later, Sarah Mitchell's life had completely changed, yet remained the same. She still worked in the motor pool, still drank thermos coffee, still quietly did her job. But now she was one of Fort Campbell's most valuable secret assets. Sarah, ma'am, young Rodriguez said one day. How were you able to stay secret for so long? Sarah smiled. Because people only see what they want to see, Rodriguez. I showed them an ordinary technician, so that's what they saw. What about now? Aren't you secret anymore? Now I choose who I am. The choice is mine. That evening, Sarah was teaching 12 elite soldiers in the special training facility. What's the most important survival skill? She asked one of them. Shooting accuracy? Number invisibility. Being unseen. Because the best fight is the fight you never have to fight. And so, Sarah Mitchell combined Master Sergeant Mitchell's power with civilian Sarah's wisdom. Now she was serving, not hiding. Her story teaches us this. True power lies in being able to conceal your power, and true courage lies in revealing that power at the right time. At Hidden Heroes, we tell stories of people who appear ordinary but are extraordinary. Don't forget to subscribe. The next Rising Life stories might be right next to you.